Welcome to Willow Creek, a place where the past and present intertwine in the most mysterious ways. Sounds peaceful, right? Just your average American town, a place where everyone knows everyone, and life moves at a slower pace. Rolling hills, cornfields stretching as far as the eye can see, the kind of place where you can lose yourself in the beauty of nature. But something sinister lurks beneath the surface, a darkness that has been part of Willow Creek for generations. Locals whispered about an old, abandoned barn on the edge of town, a place shrouded in mystery and fear. They said it was haunted, a place of shadows and screams, a place where the past refuses to stay buried, a place where the living feared to tread. The overgrown path leading to the barn was rarely walked, and those who did often regretted it. This wasn't just any old barn, this was Grayson's barn, a structure that had stood the test of time but at a great cost. Built over a century ago by the town's founder, it had seen its fair share of tragedy. Each brick and beam seemed to hold a story of its own. Accidents, suicides, even whispers of a gruesome murder. The barn's history was as dark as the night itself. The stories were passed down through generations, each tale more chilling than the last. Old photographs captured moments in time, but the true essence of the barn could never be fully captured. The air around the barn always felt heavy, oppressive, like something was watching your every move. The fog that often surrounded it only added to the eerie atmosphere. Locals claimed to hear strange noises coming from inside, whispers on the wind, disembodied laughter, sounds that would send chills down your spine. Some even said they had seen figures moving in the windows, ghostly apparitions that seemed to be trapped between worlds. But these were just stories, or were they? The line between reality and legend often blurred in Willow Creek. The barn stood as a testament to the town's haunted past, a reminder that some stories never truly end. As the old barn door creaks open, one can't help but wonder what secrets lie within. What stories are yet to be uncovered? The mystery of Grayson's barn continues to captivate and terrify those who dare to explore its depths. On a moonlit night, the barn takes on an almost otherworldly glow. Shadows dance and flicker, creating an illusion of movement. It's as if the barn itself is alive, breathing, waiting. Old journals found in the town's archives tell tales of strange occurrences, pages filled with accounts of ghostly encounters, unexplained phenomena, and the ever-present sense of dread that surrounds the barn. Around campfires, townsfolk still share these stories, each retelling adding a new layer of fear and fascination. The legend of Grayson's barn is a living, breathing part of Willow Creek's identity. Even children, with their vivid imaginations, draw pictures of the barn, their innocent depictions often eerily accurate, as if they too can sense the barn's dark history. As the sun rises, the barn's ominous presence seems to fade, but only slightly. The daylight brings a temporary reprieve, but the shadows never truly disappear. The weathered wood, the creaking beams, each element of the barn tells a story of time, of history, of the countless souls who have crossed its threshold. And as night falls once more, the barn's windows glow with an unearthly light, a beacon to the curious, a warning to the wise. The legend of Grayson's barn endures, a haunting reminder of Willow Creek's mysterious past. Jake Harris was not a man easily spooked. He had always prided himself on his rational mind and logical thinking. Growing up, he was the kid who debunked myths and legends, the one who always had a scientific explanation for everything. At 26, he was a proud skeptic. He had a reputation among his friends and family for being the one who never believed in anything without concrete evidence. He scoffed at ghost stories and the supernatural. To him, they were nothing more than figments of overactive imaginations, stories told to entertain or frighten. Just a load of old wives' tales, he'd say with a smirk, dismissing any talk of the paranormal with a wave of his hand. Jake believed in what he could see, what he could touch. His world was one of tangible realities where everything had a logical explanation. And ghosts? They weren't in his reality. He had never seen one, never felt a chill down his spine that couldn't be explained by a draft. Tonight, that would change. Jake was new to Willow Creek. He had moved from the bustling city, seeking a change of pace and a quieter life. He'd moved from the city, seeking a change of pace. The small town charm and the promise of tranquility had drawn him in. He'd heard the stories, of course. Everyone had. The tales of haunted barns and restless spirits were part of the town's folklore, but he dismissed them as local folklore. To him, they were just stories, no different from the urban legends he had debunked back in the city. Fabrications to scare the tourists and keep the kids in line. He found them amusing, but nothing more. He'd even joked about spending a night in the barn just to prove a point. He was confident that he would emerge unscathed, with nothing but a good story to tell. A decision he would soon come to regret. As the night wore on, the barn's eerie silence and the shadows that seemed to move on their own began to chip away at his skepticism. For the first time in his life, Jake Harris felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. It started, as these things often do, with a dare. A simple, almost innocent suggestion that quickly spiraled into something much more. Jake was at the local bar, the Rusty Nail, with some of the town's younger crowd. It was a typical Friday night, the kind where the air buzzed with the energy of people looking to unwind after a long week. The conversation, fueled by cheap beer and the camaraderie of old friends, turned to the haunted barn on the outskirts of town. It was a place shrouded in mystery and local legend, a topic that always seemed to come up after a few drinks. Someone dared Jake to spend the night there. It was a challenge that had been issued many times before, but no one had ever taken it seriously, until now. The room fell silent, everyone staring at Jake. The weight of the dare hung in the air, a palpable tension that seemed to press down on everyone present. He laughed it off at first, a nervous chuckle that did little to dispel the tension. But the dare lingered, thick with unspoken fear and anticipation. It was as if the very walls of the bar were holding their breath, waiting to see what he would do. The more Jake drank, the more the dare gnawed at him. It wasn't just about the money they were offering, though that was part of it. It was about proving something, to them, and maybe to himself. The money was a tempting incentive, but it was the challenge itself that called to him. It was about facing his fears, about standing up to the unknown. It was about showing everyone, including himself, that he wasn't afraid. To them, and maybe to himself. He wouldn't admit it, but a part of him, deep down, wanted to see something. To feel the thrill of fear, to confront the stories that had haunted his childhood. He wouldn't admit it, but a part of him, deep down, wanted to see something. To feel the thrill of fear. The haunted barn had always been a place of mystery, a place that called to the adventurous and the foolhardy alike. To feel the thrill of fear. The stories of ghostly apparitions and unexplained noises had always intrigued him, even as they sent shivers down his spine. There was a part of him that wanted to experience it for himself, to see if the legends were true. That night, fueled by liquid courage and youthful bravado, Jake agreed to the dare. The cheers of his friends echoed in his ears as he made the decision, a mix of excitement and dread churning in his stomach. He knew that by morning, his life might never be the same. The old wooden door creaked open as if warning him to turn back. Armed with only a flashlight and his skepticism, Jake stepped inside. The air grew instantly colder, thick with the smell of decay and something else. Something ancient and unsettling. The only light came from the moon, filtering through the gaps in the rotting roof. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle in the hayloft, sent shivers down Jake's spine. He told himself it was just the wind, but the silence between the noises was deafening. He started to feel uneasy, a prickling sensation on the back of his neck. His heart pounded in his chest, each thump echoing in the cavernous space. In a dusty corner, beneath a pile of rotting wood, Jake stumbled upon a wooden chest. It was locked, but the rusty latch gave way with a groan. Inside, nestled amongst yellowed cloth and moth-eaten books, was a leather-bound journal, the diary of Thomas Grayson. As Jake read, his blood ran cold. The entries spoke of strange occurrences, of shadows moving in the night, of disembodied voices whispering his name. Thomas believed he had brought a curse upon the barn, unleashed by a dark artifact he had discovered on his travels. He wrote of his descent into madness, of the fear that consumed him. The last entry simply read, "It knows my name. It's coming for me."